Joel is just so cute. I love Joel.
I'm a big Joel fan. Canada loves you. Your house guests love you. Did a great job.
It's okay to be a little weird because we all have our weird quirks and stuff. And
Joel is the best. Joel, you're the winner, and I will shout loudest. Don't you worry.
Joel's a really smart guy.
Let's hear it, please, for Joel.
What are you at, everybody? This is Joel with another edition of Random Thoughts. Big Brother Canada 6, the episode has come to an end, which means it's time for another edition of the podcast. And to help me out with this edition, we have a very special guest, a fellow Jäger like myself. It is the gate crusher, the king of cool, Merron Haile. Did I say that right? Haile?
You got Haile.
Haile.
That's good. That was good. That was solid.
How's it going, man?
It's going good. I'm home. I'm enjoying Edmonton, but things are going well. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I mean, I'm upset that you're out of the house because I did really want you in the house for a long time. I did think that you, very early on in the game, I did a podcast when I previewed the cast, and this was before you even were guaranteed to be on the show, but I talked with Cameron from Big Brother 19, and me and him kind of agreed that you had a lot of potential to go really far if you were voted in, and I thought that if you were voted in, that almost gave you like an advantage from all the other house guests, simply because as a Big Brother Canada fan like myself and you, we know that Big Brother Canada is very different than Big Brother US in the sense that you got to be good with everybody in the house, you got to have a good rapport with everybody there, but your popularity matters as well on the outside from fans, because we're seeing even coming up this week that there is potentially going to be a fan vote to save somebody. So your popularity outside the house is going to be something that is going to be very important as well. So from your perspective, Merron, did you think that that gave you an advantage going into the house that you were voted in by Canada?
I think what it did, it definitely gave me a confidence boost. That's for sure. It's really good for my morale because knowing that it's already an honor being in that house, right? But to go in because the people voted you in, I felt so grateful. And when I went in there, I'm like, yeah, man, I got to do this. I'm going to work hard, go at it, make everyone that voted for me proud. But I think I understand what you're saying, but I do feel like it was a little bit of a disadvantage just because everyone kind of already knew each other when I went in. And like, I just saw like the episode where I came in, everybody wanted me out right away, and it was kind of hard. But again, as time went by, I did get to know everybody, so it didn't seem like that as the closer I got to getting down to the finale.
Do you think the twist in the fact that you couldn't actually tell them why you got voted in, if it was something similar to like my season where after the first eviction, we all saw on the screen that it was either Tim, Jace, Nikki, or Veronica voted in. If people knew ahead of time that, okay, one of these people is going in, like a twist like that where you guys wouldn't have to sort of make up a cover story, do you think that could have helped you and Veronica integrate better into the house?
Yeah, I think it would have definitely would have cushioned the blow because everyone was like, okay, they're coming in after we just evicted somebody, and after I came in, we have to make a lie to them, like just to make matters even worse. So I mean, it would have been nice if we were able to tell the truth, but again, I don't know how they would feel if they heard that Canada voted us in. Maybe like I don't know what their response would have been towards that. So I feel like it would have been better, but there's pros and cons for both.
Yeah, for sure. There's always kind of a catch-22 no matter which way you're going about it, and this, I think, is no different than that. I want to talk about last week, the week that you were sadly evicted from the house. Did you think throughout the week that it was going to be such a tight vote between you and Ryan where it'd be either a tie or maybe a 5-3 one way?
Yeah, I knew right away that it was going to be close, just because once I lost I guess after the veto, Ryan came up to me and he was so confident that he was going to stay. That's when I actually realized, I'm like, okay, this is going to be really close, because if I feel confident and he feels confident, then I don't know which way this is going to go. So I knew it was going to be a close one for sure.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Ryan, because that's kind of my next point is we saw Ryan talking, I don't know if I would call it trash, maybe it's very subtle trash towards you. Did you know all along that he was just doing that to kind of try to shake you a little bit?
What do you mean? I don't know.
Well, like in the veto, he seemed like he was really sort of playing up, like, yeah, I think I'm probably gonna be good at this. I think I'm probably gonna be okay for this week. Do you think that did you think all along that he's doing this strategically to try to like plant some seeds into your head?
That's a good question. I feel like it's a little bit of both, because I do feel like I don't see the benefit of him doing that. If anything, that would make me want to campaign even harder. And but I also do think that he was really feeling himself. Like I think he believed it as well. I think it was a bit of both. But Ryan, he's a smart guy, but he really gets. I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't want to be rude, obviously, right? He's just, whenever he feels a certain way, he will voice himself. You know what I mean? And more often than not, he's kind of speaking from what he actually believes. So I definitely thought that he was being serious when he said that.
Now, you on the opposite end were painted as the nice guy, the very easygoing Merron type person. Do you think that approach was something that may have hurt you, because it was sort of an easy way to be like, well, who's not going to put up a fuss if they're nominated? Maybe Merron more so than the others?
I 100% agree with that. I think that's exactly what it was. I don't know. And the thing is, I'm not the type of person to go crazy and scream and shout, and I wasn't gonna fake it. I wouldn't even be able to fake it if I was put on the block and act all traumatized and whatnot. But I think for sure it definitely wasn't good for me, the fact that I was super calm and not a panicky person.
Do you think when we saw Erica bring up to you that, hey, you are somebody that goes home next to everybody, do you think when she said that and vocalized it out loud, did you think to yourself like, oh, if she actually says that and is vocalizing that to me, that now I'm kind of like in more danger than I thought? Because it's one thing to put somebody up as the pawn, but if everybody has that fear of like they're gonna go home, then that can kind of put everyone else on high alert.
Yeah, as soon as you voice that, as soon as you say it out loud, it becomes a thing, and people start to think about it a lot. And I thought, like, I understood where she was coming from, but I mean, the people that I was sitting beside that went home, if they were sitting beside anybody else in the house, they would have gone home anyways. Like Veronica and Hamza, like two huge targets in the house. I feel like it replaced me with, I mean, other than someone like Erica, because I think everyone's starting to realize how threatening Erica is. But I feel like Veronica and Hamza would have went home regardless, and that's just me being defensive.
I want to know, and I had Hamza on the show on Sunday, and I was kind of scratching my head because we could clearly tell how tight you and Hamza were while you were in the house. We saw the kind of impact it was when Hamza was put up on the block and evicted next to you. We also saw all the emotion that Erica had when Hamza got voted off. So how come Erica, when she lost somebody who was how come she put you up? Because my line of thinking when I'm looking at this is, well, Merron just lost his best friend. Erica's acting like she just lost her best friend. She's somebody who's a big target, obviously, and needs allies from everywhere. Did you and Erica just not see eye to eye, or was there something we didn't see on the show?
You know, I have no idea. I thought we had a good relationship, and especially the fact that me and Hams were really close, and Erica and Hams were close. I thought that kind of would have bonded us. And I said that to her before. The first time she put me up, like when Veronica went home, I told her, I was like, I'm down to work with you. And I was actually being genuine at that point because Hams was still in the house. And I told her we have a mutual guy that we trust 100%. So I think us three would be able to move forward in the game. But when Hams went home, I remember the first thing she said, we were in the pantry and she was crying. The first thing she said was, she's like, I'm gonna get every single floater out of this house. None of them are deserving to be in this house. Other like they don't deserve to be in this house over Hams. And I'm sitting there and thinking, like, girl, you talking about me? Like I wasn't sure who she was talking about, and then she put me up. So it's funny because I wasn't actually shocked because I didn't trust her. I never trusted her.
Do you think that from Erica's perspective, given the fact that she's obviously the person that is sort of the front runner, I don't mean necessarily the front runner to win, because I think there's a few people that have a pretty good shot right now, but in terms of comp wins and somebody in the house who everybody has on their radar and is kind of really threatened by, I would personally say that Erica's kind of the person at the front of the pack, so to speak. So. Yeah. Is it not smart for her at this point? Because there's only been really her and Johnny that have been dominating in the competitions thus far. Is it not smart for her to just take out her competition and then she could potentially like win out when say a Johnny is out and maybe a Kayla and Ryan, who has obviously shown to be a better competitor? Is that not her smarter move to take out her competitors and then just be like, well, all these floaters can't win crap, so why don't I just go up against them and I can either win a veto or an HOH every time?
Yeah, I totally understand that. I don't know. I see like both sides. Because by taking me out, she didn't damage any alliances. By taking me or Ryan out, I should say, because even if Ryan went home, it would have been the same thing. By taking us out, she didn't damage any potential alliances. I mean, as good as you can be at competitions, I don't feel like you should rely on them all the time. Just betting that, okay, I'm just going to win HOH. I'm going to win veto this week over and over and over again. Because, yeah, they're dominating now, but there will be a time where there'll be a competition that will be in like completely someone else's favor. Because we all have different strengths and skills. So, I obviously would have been nice, but like I understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question from at Beezus XX. This was on Twitter earlier today. She wants to know for you at Beezus XX. It's Twitter. People got funky names, especially Big Brother people. What can I say? If you go back into the house, maybe not necessarily tomorrow, but at some point, if you go back into the house, what would you do differently?
Like if I were to go in now, or like
if you were to like first, let's say if you were to, for some reason, a twist came around and they said, hey, they called you tomorrow and were like, hey, Merron, can you come back into the house? How do you play differently? What would you do differently?
I think I would vocalize who I would want out, like be a little bit more aggressive than I was when I was in the house, but do the complete opposite. Like say one thing and then just what I feel like would be the best protection for me, and then I would just completely flip the script if I won HOH. Like because I'm like I'm upset with myself. I feel like I could have done more for sure. So I feel like I would be like relentless when it came to moving forward in the game. I would be relentless.
A couple things that I want to point out just before we get to the week that is passing by right now is we know that it was going to be a very close vote between yourself and Ryan, and there was a couple key votes. We didn't see too much of this on the actual edited show, but we saw a lot of this stuff in live feeds. Is that Erica put you up? We saw you in the diary room say that, you know, if you stay, you're going after Erica. Obviously, you weren't the only one that was going to be targeting Erica, very obviously. But it seemed like from what I watched that was something that Erica might have gotten word of some way. Do you regret mentioning Erica's name, and do you think that may have cost you at all?
Yeah, 100%. I never actually like specifically said I'm going after Erica next week. I just kind of made implications, and I think that was my problem. And I realized that I should never, because I knew as soon as Hams went, I wouldn't trust anybody, and it just, yeah, that was my fault. I should not have done that, and that definitely played a part as to why I'm here right now.
Yeah, and another one I wanted to mention was one of the people that has been kind of the quote-unquote floaters that isn't clearly working with one side or another, that's kind of doing his own thing, is Will. We saw you bring Will's name up. We saw you make, in my opinion, some pretty valid points as to why Will should be nominated. Did any of that word that you said to Erica about potentially putting up Will, did word get back to anyone else around the house or Will, do you know?
You're cutting up, man.
Oh. Did, so Will, who was one of...
I heard, the last thing I heard you say was put...
Yeah, so Will was one of the swing votes in the house.
Completely frozen, bro.
1 second.
No, what happened?
All right. Can you hear me okay now? Take a second, it'll... Hey, Merron, can you hear me?
Oh.
Okay. So Will was one of the we're back. Will was one of the people as well who was kind of in the middle, who's not really working clearly with one side or another. We saw you bring up Will's name to Erica. Did any of that get around the house? And if so, do you think that may have hurt your position with Will?
Oh, okay. There we go. I caught what you said.
Okay.
All right. Did it hurt my position with Will? So my question to you now, because I don't know.
Yes.
The fact that, you know how I was voicing about Will, did that get back to him? I don't even know.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. I didn't catch too much of that on the actual edited. I didn't catch too much of that on the live feed, so I'm not too sure. I'm just wondering if you heard from anybody else in the house, like, hey, did you say this about Will? Or, hey, Will heard your name and thought it might have come from you. Did you hear any of that?
No, I didn't hear any of it. It's possible that it could have went back to him, and maybe that did kind of influence his decision to vote me out. But I think he just got peer pressured. I think that's all it was. He got pressured into voting me out because he did say he was going to keep me 100%, and he went against that. Obviously, I'm a little salty, but
tell us how you really feel, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm salty. I'm so salty. Just from that specific, not from getting evicted as a whole. Obviously, it sucks, but like that, I think that thing really threw me off. Just because if he voted for me to stay, I still would have been in that house right now. Because all I needed was to guarantee a fourth vote. Because I had Ali and Dela, that's 3. And there's Liv, she would have been the 4th, but she didn't want to be a vote for me unless I guaranteed a 4th, and then she would have been the 5th, and I would have stayed.
Do you
know
think?
What I mean?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Dela, because that leads me to one other thing I want to get to with your game, and then we're going to get on to what's going on right now in the house.
Sure.
We saw some clips, not too much, but we saw a few things, and we know how things get kind of edited to tell a story when they're in the house. Yeah. We saw a few clips of you getting down with Dela, having some fun with Derek and Kayla. Was it common knowledge to people in the house that you were tight with Derek and Kayla?
I guess so. Honestly, I was being super, like, I was being stupid because I never really thought that people would have seen me and Dela as like a trio, because I never saw it that way. And it wasn't until the next day where I talked with Paris, and she's like, "Yo, are you working with Dela? Everybody thinks that you guys are a thing." And I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you crazy?" And then I heard that from the edited episode. They were talking about me and Dela, and then we just burst into the HOH room, stomping and clapping. That's funny. That's super funny.
Yeah.
Obviously that wasn't to my benefit at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly didn't realize it until I spoke with Paris the next day, and she's like, "Everybody thinks that you're with Dela." I'm like, "What?" It's crazy.
Yeah, the sucky thing about the game, I find, is that sometimes you can do nothing. You can just like say hey and smile to somebody in a certain way, and then everybody else will take that as like, "Oh, do you see the way that he said hey to them?"
Right?
That's like, oh my god, they must be working together. So it's an awful thing, because we only really saw you like doing some clapping stuff, and it's like, well, he could have been doing that with anybody, right? He could have been doing, yeah. So but I don't know. People will formulate their own stories a lot of times in there, and sometimes it's like totally out of your control. But let's talk about some of the happenings that have been going on so far in the last couple of episodes. We saw after you get evicted, we get to the HOH competition. It's hold your button, an endurance one. We get Allie, first of all, talking about how they're a big duo in the house, her and Liv. The other big duo is Kayla and Derek. Is there any reason at this stage, when there's 10 people left, is there any reason for those two groups to not just work together until they take out a few more people so they have numbers their side?
I feel like at this far down the game, if they don't have some sort of like foundation of like a relationship or friendship, it's going to be kind of hard to just merge like that. It's not, it has to be kind of, because there are other people in the house that they're close with, like Allie and Liv, to my understanding, are good with Johnny, and I don't know if that's the case with Dela, because Dela is also considering of backdooring Johnny and all this stuff. So I think it would be awesome if they could, but I don't think it would be possible, because they're kind of linked with different parts of the house.
Why hasn't anybody taken a shot at these two power duos? Because it seems to me like it's been common knowledge for a fairly long time that Liv and Allie are inseparable, and on the other side, Derek and Kayla are inseparable.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why people haven't done it. I don't know why people haven't done it. But like, if I was in that house right now, I would be looking at Erica more so than them, because also the benefit of kind of getting out someone that's on their own, which is also one of the reasons why Erica got me out, is that you won't have like a person like gunning for you, or someone, because that's how it feels. That's the atmosphere in the house. If someone were to take out like an alliance member, then the other half was just kind of be like, "Oh, well, I gotta get them out now." But I feel like that's why people are kind of hesitant, because they don't know what, like, if Liv were to go home, how would Allie go about it? Would she target the person that sent Liv home? You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it benefits to take out Erica, I feel, because you're not upsetting like the duos, I guess. I don't know.
One of the other people who is sort of quote-unquote seen as the floater, and I don't know how she's been able to, just about, but one of the people whose name is brought up almost every single week is Maddie's. I don't know sometimes if Maddie is doing a lot of things wrong or a lot of things right, because her name's being mentioned a lot. She's been virtually invisible on the actual edited TV show, but yet we saw in the double eviction Johnny really fight hard to like, hey, she's not touching the block. We saw we saw this week, Maddie was literally going to go up on the block and probably going to be the target minutes before Kayla made her nominations, but Paris all of a sudden vouches for her and Kayla goes along with it. Is Maddie doing something? What is Maddie doing right, do you think, to stay off the block? Is it just luck with how the house is situated right now, or is she doing some good work in some respect that I'm not seeing?
She.
It's a loaded question, I know.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. I'm just gonna think about what my answer is. So for Maddie, the one thing I noticed about being in the house is that she doesn't really. She pretty much is like doing her own thing. I don't feel like she is actually like linked to someone, like really connected to somebody. She's usually by herself on the couches a lot, or just kind of studying on her own, or she'll force herself onto conversations and stuff like that. So I think that's also kind of benefited her because she has been under the radar a lot, but it's kind of like known who she's with as well. Like, and I think Paris vouching for her to stay just kind of shows that as well. And Paris she's pretty good at manipulating people. I feel like she sounds very convincing when you listen to her speak, and I think the fact that she's lined up with somebody like that makes a huge difference for sure, and I think that's helped her move forward.
During your time in the house, how many hours in each day did Maddie spend crying? Because that's all we're seeing a lot from her most of the time.
Apparently. It's funny because I knew she was a crybaby as soon as every week we'd watch the HOH videos from like a loved one or something like that, and she's bawling every time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like every time. A lot of people do cry, and it's fine. It's totally fine with like I'm okay with that. But it's like she's like bawling, like like she saw her own family. Again, I'm nothing against her.
Yeah.
But apparently she's been crying way more than I saw because, again, I wasn't even that close with her. If she was crying, it was where I wasn't around. So,
well, she was crying. She was crying when she got word originally from Kayla that she was going to get nominated. Then she had a big crying spree with Paris. Paris convinced Kayla to not put her on the block. But then when the nominations read out and her name wasn't on the screen, she started crying again. She started like throwing up some more waterworks, and I'm like, well, where's this coming from? This is a good thing. You should be like overjoyed and like happy about this. Why are you still? But it wasn't one of those like tears of joy thing. It looked like she was like sad, like, crying sad, too, right? And I was like, what's going on here? Is it just like, do you think she might be playing this up because she's like, well, this is how people see me right now, so I have to like keep going like this even when it doesn't make sense?
I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't hear about that. This is the first I'm hearing this. But that's so funny. The thing is with her, and I feel like it kind of helps her in a way, because I remember when Erica put her up, she was crying and everyone felt bad for her. Oh, poor Maddie. We don't want to hurt her feelings. What about me, guys? You know what I mean? 3 consecutive times, but nobody gives a damn, I guess. I guess I got to shed some more tears to get some attention. But, I think it kind of helps her, but at a certain point, it's going to get annoying, and everybody won't be wanting to deal with that all the time. So I don't know. Maybe it's good for her, but I just think she's genuinely like that.
Yeah, whatever it is, she's clearly like still in the game, and it has somehow not touched the block on eviction time. She's been nominated one time, but she was quickly vetoed off after that. So whatever she's doing, there's something, whether it's wrong or right. Sometimes you don't always make the right move, but it sometimes like works to your benefit. As one of the winners of my season once said, and it's still a bit of a head scratcher, sometimes I guess you have to make the wrong move for it to be the right move. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that is a campaign speech that one of the brothers made during my season. I found that out on live feeds afterwards. It's an interesting perspective, but everybody who's watching this can kind of ponder that and figure, what in the world does that mean? Because me and Merron have no idea what that means. Speaking of head-scratching people and somebody who doesn't seem like they're all there all the time, we'll get to Derek. What do you make of Derek? Is he playing up, do you think that he's dumb, or do you think that he's actually like as bad as he's kind of being perceived in the house?
Oh, it's so funny.
Give me your honest opinion.
I never.
I know you're the nice guy, but be honest.
I never saw Derek as dumb. Like, I never thought like, oh man, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. I never really thought about it like that, just because I think he has Kayla with him, so it's like not as bad. I don't know. I guess he's just. I feel like I believe he's really in tune with the game, but I don't know. Again, the way we're talking right now, I'm going based on what I have seen and what I've experienced in the house, because I haven't watched.
Sure.
I'm not up to date with the show. I don't watch the live feed since I got out. I'm just living my life right now. So from what I've seen, I never thought him as dumb. He just seems super like chill and just like, dude, like, chill kind of guy. So I don't know. I guess he's being perceived as dumb. I have no idea.
I think just in your description of him, the "what's up, dude," I think that alone probably is why he's getting that kind of an edit and that kind of a perception, because the "what's up, dude" kind of has the makes of like a surfer bro who's just like not caring, and like they're obviously, it's not to say that there's some surfers who probably have really high IQs, but the sort of the stereotype is that because they're surfers and they talk in really cool laid back voices, that they have to be like not all that smart up here. That doesn't necessarily mean the case. So it could just be something as simple as his voice, or him just like saying what's up a lot, right?